Welcome to the Sleep Quest that is dedicated to science around lucid dreaming, out-of-body experience, sleep paralysis, and more. Preface: the cartographers of the dream world. For most of human history, the world of sleep was a black sea into which we sailed each night, only to be washed ashore hours later with fragmented, salt-stained memories of our voyage. The dream world was the realm of gods, demons, and prophecy, a separate reality whose rules were unknowable and whose landscapes were beyond our control. We were passive travelers in our own minds. But in recent decades, a new kind of cartographer has emerged, armed not with a compass and sextant, but with the electroencephalogram EEG, the functional magnetic resonance imagery, and rigorous psychological inquiry. These pioneers of consciousness have begun to map the inner cosmos. They have charted the recursive cycles of our slumber, identified the neural signatures of our dreams, and given us the language to speak about experiences that once hovered at the edge of sanity. This essay is an attempt to synthesize their maps. It is a journey into three of the most profound and often misunderstood states of consciousness available to us: sleep paralysis, the terrifying void where the mind wakes, but the body does not; the out-of-body experience, the baffling sensation of leaving one's physical form behind; and lucid dreaming, the extraordinary state of becoming consciously aware within the. We will treat these experiences not as paranormal events, but as neurological phenomena, natural, explainable products of the incredibly complex and flexible human brain. By grounding them in peer-reviewed science, we will strip away the layers of fear and superstition, revealing the intricate biological mechanisms at play. Yet, in explaining them, we do not intend to diminish their power. To understand the neurology of a sunset does not make it any less beautiful. Similarly, to understand the brain processes behind a lucid dream only deepens our awe for the organ that can create such boundless interactive worlds. This is also an invitation. It is an invitation to view your own sleep not as a passive state of non-being, but as an active, vital part of your conscious life. Woven throughout this scientific exploration are stories, anecdotes, designed not just to illustrate concepts, but to be read before you turn out the light. They are gentle narratives intended to reframe your relationship with the night, to soothe anxieties, and to encourage a sense of calm curiosity as you prepare to drift into your own inner cosmos. For in learning to navigate these worlds, we learn more about the fundamental nature of the self and the astonishing plasticity of the reality our brains construct for us both awake and asleep. Introduction: the uncharted territories of sleep. We spend on average 1/3 of our lives asleep. For a 90-year-old, that is 30 full years spent in a state of altered consciousness. Yet, for most of us, this vast expanse of time remains a mystery. We cherish sleep as a biological necessity, a time for the body to repair, the immune system to rally, and memories to consolidate. But we often overlook the psychological journey we take each night. Sleep is not merely an absence of waking. It is a world unto itself, with its own geography, its own rules, and its own startling phenomena. This exploration focuses on the borderlands of that world, the liminal states that occur at the fragile boundary between waking, sleeping, and dreaming. Here, the normally rigid distinctions between self and environment, reality and imagination, conscious control and unconscious process begin to dissolve. It is in these borderlands that we encounter sleep paralysis (SP), lucid dreaming (LD), and the out-of-body experience (OBE). At first glance, these three experiences appear wildly different. Sleep paralysis is a state of profound, often terrifying helplessness. The lucid dream is a state of profound, often exhilarating empowerment. The out-of-body experience is a state of profound, often bewildering detachment. One is a cage, one is a playground, and one is an observation deck. However, scientific inquiry reveals them to be deeply interconnected, like three different weather patterns generated by the same atmospheric conditions. They all arise from a unique and delicate dance of neurobiology, primarily related to the unique state of rapid eye movement REM sleep. They are not supernatural events or signs of mental instability. They are predictable, if rare, products of a brain transitioning imperfectly between fundamentally different operating modes. The scientific literature, once sparse, has blossomed in the 21st century. Researchers like J. Alan Chain and his colleagues at the University of Waterloo have provided extensive data on the epidemiology and phenomenology of sleep paralysis. The pioneering work of Stephen Lauberg at Stanford University in the 1980s objectively proved the existence of lucid dreaming by having dreamers use prearranged eye movements. More recently, neuroscientists like Ursula Voss and J. Alan Hobson have used high-density EEG to identify a unique neural signature for lucidity, a hybrid state of consciousness showing brainwave patterns of both waking and dreaming, particularly a spike in gamma band activity around 40. And neurologists like Olaf Blank in Switzerland have pinpointed the temporoparietal junction TPJ as a critical brain region for integrating our sense of self with our body, demonstrating that disruptions to this area, either through illness or direct electrical stimulation, can reliably produce OBE-like sensations. This essay will journey through this research, translating the language of neuroscience into an accessible narrative. We will begin by building a foundation, exploring the basic architecture of sleep and consciousness itself. We must first understand the normal before we can appreciate the paranormal. From there, we will tackle each state, individually dissecting its characteristics, its neurobiological underpinnings, and its cultural significance. Finally, we will synthesize this knowledge, showing how these three seemingly disparate experiences are, in fact, closely related points on a vast and fascinating spectrum of human consciousness. The ultimate goal is twofold. First, to demystify these experiences, replacing fear with understanding. For the millions who have experienced the terror of sleep paralysis, knowledge is a powerful antidote. For those who have stumbled into a lucid dream or an OBE, a scientific framework can help integrate the experience in a meaningful way. The second goal is to inspire a new appreciation for the act of sleeping. By understanding the potential that lies within our own minds each night, we can learn to approach our beds not just as a place of rest, but as a gateway to the most intimate and creative theater in the universe. Part I, The Architecture of Sleep and Consciousness. Chapter 1, The Descent into Sleep. Before we can explore the strange and wonderful anomalies of the sleeping mind, we must first understand its ordinary nightly rhythm. The journey into sleep is not like flipping a switch. It is a gradual, elegant descent down a staircase of consciousness, with each step taking us into a profoundly different neurobiological state. This nightly odyssey is governed by ancient biological clocks and orchestrated by a complex symphony of brainwaves and neurochemicals. 1.1 The rhythms of life. Our entire lives are tethered to the 24-hour rotation of our planet, and the master conductor of this rhythm is a tiny cluster of about 20,000 neurons in the hypothalamus called the suprachiasmatic nucleus (SCN). The SCN functions as our master biological clock, keeping time even in the absence of external cues. However, it is primarily calibrated by the most powerful environmental time giver, or Zeigler light. Specialized ganglion cells in our retinas detect the ambient light levels and send signals directly to the SCN. When light, particularly blue spectrum light, is present, the SCN is active and promotes wakefulness by signaling to other brain regions. As light fades in the evening, the SCN signals the pineal gland to begin secreting the hormone melatonin, the hormone of darkness, which doesn't so much force sleep as it gently opens the gate for it to occur. This intricate system is why exposure to bright screens before bed can disrupt sleep. Our ancient brains interpret the blue light of a smartphone as midday sun, suppressing melatonin and delaying the onset of slumber. 1.2 The four stages of the night, NREM and REM cycles. Once melatonin has opened the gates and we decide to sleep, our brain begins its descent through a series of distinct stages, which together form a sleep cycle. One full cycle lasts approximately 90–110 minutes, and we typically experience 4 to 6 such cycles per night. These stages are broadly divided into two types: non-rapid eye movement (NREM) sleep and rapid eye movement REM sleep. NREM stage 1 none. This is the gossamer thin transition from wakefulness to sleep lasting only a few minutes. Your breathing and heart rate begin to slow, and your muscles relax. Your brain waves shift from the rhythmic alpha waves of relaxed wakefulness to the slower, more irregular theta waves. This is the stage of hypnagogic imagery, fleeting, dreamlike images, sounds, or sensations. You might experience a sudden muscle twitch known as a hypnic jerk, which is often accompanied by a sensation of falling. If awoken from none, you might not even believe you were truly asleep. NREM stage 2-12. Your body temperature drops, and you become disengaged from your surroundings. The theta waves of your brain are now punctuated by two characteristic phenomena: sleep spindles, brief bursts of rapid brain activity thought to be involved in memory consolidation, and K-complexes, large, slow waves that may help suppress arousal in response to external stimuli. NREM stage 3-3. This is the deepest, most restorative stage of sleep. Your brain produces large, slow delta waves. Breathing, heart rate, and blood pressure are at their lowest levels. It is incredibly difficult to be awakened from 3 sleep. It is during this stage that the body performs much of its physical repair work, releasing growth hormone, repairing tissues, and strengthening the immune system. The brain, meanwhile, engages in a crucial cleanup process via the glymphatic system, which flushes out metabolic waste products like beta amyloid, a protein associated with Alzheimer's disease. REM sleep. This stage is a study in contradictions. Your brain becomes intensely active, with EEG readings that look remarkably similar to those of an awake, alert mind. Your eyes dart back and forth beneath your closed eyelids, hence rapid eye movement. Your breathing and heart rate become irregular, yet your body is almost completely paralyzed. A specialized off switch in the brainstem, in the pontine reticular formation, actively inhibits motor neurons, preventing you from acting out your dreams. This protective paralysis is called rematonia. This is the stage where most of our vivid narrative and often bizarre dreams occur. The architecture of a night's sleep is not flat. In the first half of the night, our cycles are dominated by deep 3 sleep, prioritizing physical restoration. As the night progresses, the 3 stages become shorter and the REM stages become longer and more frequent. The longest, most vivid dreams typically occur in the final hours of sleep. This elegant structure ensures that we get the right kind of sleep when we need it most. It is precisely at the edges of this intricate REM stage, during the transitions into and out of its powerful atonia, that the phenomena of sleep paralysis, lucid dreams, and OBEs are most likely to emerge. 1.3 The brain asleep, a symphony of brain waves. The stages of sleep are not just behavioral descriptions. They are defined by distinct electrical signatures. the collective firing of billions of neurons measured by EEG. Understanding these brainwaves provides a deeper insight into the mind's activity during sleep. Beta waves 13, the signature of the active, awake, and alert mind. Fast and irregular. Alpha waves I13, present during relaxed wakefulness meditation, a bridge to the subconscious. Theta waves 4th, the dominant wave of light sleep nund, woe, and the hypnagogic state. Associated with creativity, memory, and dreamlike imagery. Delta waves 0.54s, the slow rolling waves of deep, the signature of physical restoration and unconsciousness. Gamma waves 30s, typically around 40s, the fastest brain waves associated with high-level information processing, insight, and consciousness itself. Intriguingly, as we will see, these waves make a dramatic reappearance during lucid dreaming, suggesting a fusion of waking-like consciousness with the dreaming state. This progression from beta to alpha to theta to delta and back again forms the fundamental electrical rhythm of our nightly rest. It is a symphony that plays every night, and within its complex movements, the most extraordinary experiences of the human mind can take place. Part II, Sleep Paralysis, the Bridge Between Worlds. Chapter 4, Waking in the In-Between. There are few human experiences as universally terrifying as waking in the dead of night to find oneself completely paralyzed. The mind is lucid. The eyes can dart around the familiar shadows of the bedroom. A scream catches in a throat that will not respond. Limbs that obeyed every command just hours before are now utterly disconnected from the will. This is the core of sleep paralysis SP, a conscious mind trapped in an immobile body. It is a waking nightmare, a biological misfire that has haunted humanity for millennia and given birth to some of our most enduring myths of nocturnal monsters and malevolent spirits. 4.1 The clinical definition and phenomenology. From a clinical perspective, sleep paralysis is a form of parasomnia, a category of sleep disorders involving undesirable events that occur while falling asleep, during sleep, or upon waking. Specifically, it is classified as a REM-related parasomnia. An episode is characterized by a brief period of inability to perform voluntary movements, atonia either at sleep onset hypnagogic form or upon awakening hypnopompic form. While the core symptom is paralysis, the subjective experience, or phenomenology, is far richer and more complex. Surveys, such as those conducted by researcher J. Allen Chain, have revealed a consistent pattern of hallucinatory experiences that often accompany the paralysis. These aren't just vague dream snippets. They are vivid multimodal sensory experiences that feel terrifyingly real. The sleeper's eyes are often open, causing the hallucinations to be superimposed onto their actual bedroom environment. This blending of the inner world of the dream and the outer world of physical reality is what makes SP such a powerful and convincing experience. The mind, desperate to make sense of the bizarre state of being awake yet paralyzed, generates a narrative, and that narrative is almost always one of fear. 4.2 Atonia's Echo, the neurobiology of awaking paralysis. To understand sleep paralysis, we must return to the architecture of REM sleep discussed in Chapter 1. The defining feature of REM is the brain's paradoxical state. It is highly active, producing vivid dreams while the body is in a state of near total paralysis known as REM atonia. This atonia is a crucial evolutionary adaptation. It is orchestrated by neurons in the brainstem, particularly the pons, which send inhibitory signals down the spinal cord to block motor neurons. This safety mechanism prevents us. Sleep paralysis is, in essence, a temporal glitch in this system. It is a state of dissociated consciousness where elements of REM sleep and wakefulness overlap. The conscious waking part of your brain involving regions like the prefrontal cortex comes back online at the brainstem switch that is supposed to turn off the REM atonia has not yet been flipped. Your conscious mind awakens, but your body remains in the grip of REM sleep's paralysis. This neurological explanation demystifies the experience entirely. You are not being held down by an external force. You are simply experiencing the lingering effects of your own natural sleep biology. The feeling of helplessness is real, but the cause is internal, not external. 4.3 The three hallucinations: intruder, incubus, and vestibular motor experiences. The terror of sleep paralysis is rarely due to the paralysis alone. It is amplified exponentially by the powerful hallucinations that the brain constructs to explain the strange bodily sensations. Research has categorized these into three distinct, though often overlapping types. The intruder: this is the overwhelming and palpable sense of a presence in the room. It is often described as malevolent, watchful, or threatening. The sleeper may hear footsteps, whispers, or the sound of a door creaking open. They may see a shadowy figure standing in the corner of the room by the door or at the foot of the bed. This hallucination is thought to be driven by a hyperactivated amygdala, the brain's fear and threat detection center. The amygdala registers the paralysis as a state of extreme vulnerability and immediately initiates a threat response. With no actual external threat to identify, the brain essentially invents one to match the intense feeling of fear, creating the spectral intruder. The incubus, or chest pressure. This involves a sensation of intense pressure on the chest, accompanied by a feeling of suffocation. The sleeper may feel as though someone or something is sitting or lying on them, crushing the air from their lungs. This terrifying sensation is a brilliant example of the brain misinterpreting bodily signals. During REM sleep, breathing is naturally shallow and irregular. When the mind awakens in a state of panic, the demand for oxygen increases, but the paralyzed chest and diaphragm muscles cannot respond with deep breaths. The brain interprets this conflict, the desperate need for more air and the physical inability to take a deep breath, as an external force causing suffocation. The cultural image of the incubus demon or old hag sitting on the victim's chest is a direct narrative translation of this neurological event. Vestibular motor VM hallucinations. This category is different from the first two and is less commonly associated with fear. It includes sensations of floating, flying, spinning, falling, or having a classic out-of-body experience OBE where one feels they are hovering above their own sleeping body. These sensations are believed to arise from erratic activity in the brain regions responsible for our sense of balance and spatial orientation, the vestibular system. Because the body is providing no actual feedback of movement, this demonstrates how the same underlying neurological state is dissociated. REM wakefulness hybrid can produce terror in one instance and a feeling of profound spiritual or mystical experience in another, depending entirely on the context and interpretation of the individual. Chapter 5: The Shadow in the Room. Cultural Interpretations. The neurological blueprint for sleep paralysis is universal. The experience of waking paralysis and the associated sensory hallucinations are constants across cultures and throughout history. What changes is the story we tell ourselves about it. The brain provides the raw data: paralysis, fear, pressure, a sense of presence, and our cultural software provides the narrative overlay. Sleep paralysis is a blank canvas upon which cultures have painted their deepest nocturnal fears. In Newfoundland, folklore speaks of the old hag, a supernatural crone who comes in the night to sit on a person's chest, leaving them breathless and immobile. To ward her off, people would sleep with a knife on their chest or mutter a specific prayer. In Germanic and Scandinavian folklore, the culprit was the mare, from which we derive the word nightmare, a demonic creature, often a woman, who would ride on people's chests as they slept, causing terrifying dreams. In Japan, the experience is known as kaneshibari, which translates to bound by metal. It is often understood as a form of spiritual attack, though modern understanding has also integrated the scientific explanation. In Brazil, the pisadeira, the treater, is a hag with long fingernails who lurks on rooftops, coming down to tread on the chests of those who sleep on a full stomach with their belly up. In many cultures, the experience is attributed to jinns, demons, ghosts, or even alien abduction, with the paralysis and incubus phenomena mapping perfectly onto common abduction narratives. These stories are not mere fantasies. They are powerful explanatory frameworks for a baffling and terrifying biological event. Before the advent of modern sleep science, a supernatural explanation was the only logical one. The consistency of these myths across disconnected cultures is powerful evidence that they all spring from the same root, neurological experience. Understanding this allows us to see the shadow in the room not as an invading demon, but as a projection of our own mind, dressed in the costumes of our culture. Chapter 6: From Terror to Tranquility. Knowledge is the first and most powerful tool for transforming the experience of sleep. Simply understanding the neurobiology behind the phenomenon that it is a harmless temporary glitch between sleep states can dramatically reduce the fear during an episode. When the terror subsides, the experience can change entirely. 6.1 Coping Mechanisms: Breaking the Fear Cycle. If you find yourself in an episode fighting, it is often counterproductive. Straining against the paralysis can increase panic and intensify the hallucinations. Instead, the following techniques are reported to be effective. Emotional regulation. The most crucial step is to remain calm. Remind yourself, by consciously overriding the initial fear response, you can prevent the amygdala from hijacking the experience and creating a monster in the corner. Focus on a small movement. While large muscle groups are paralyzed, control over extremities can sometimes be regained first. Instead of trying to sit up or shout, focus all your mental energy on wiggling a single toe or a fingertip. This can sometimes be enough to disrupt the atonia and end the episode. Control your breathing. The feeling of suffocation is an illusion caused by panic and shallow REM breathing. Ignore the sensation of pressure and focus on taking slow, deliberate, meditative breaths. This not only reassures your panicked mind, but can also help regulate your heart rate and ease you out of the frightened state. Accept and observe. This is a more advanced, mindfulness-based approach. Instead of trying to escape the state, you can choose to relax into it. Accept the paralysis. Observe the hallucinations with detached curiosity. See the shadowy figure not as a threat. When you remove fear from the equation, the entire experience can transform from a nightmare into a unique state of consciousness to be explored. 6.2 The SP Lucid Dream Transition. Using the state as a launchpad. For those who become comfortable with the state, sleep paralysis can serve as a direct gateway into a lucid dream. This is, in fact, one of the primary methods for inducing a wake-initiated lucid dream wild. The process involves using the fourth coping mechanism, acceptance. When you find yourself paralyzed, instead of trying to wake your body up, you allow it to fall back asleep while your mind remains consciously aware. You can close your often already open eyes and focus on the hypnagogic imagery that begins to form behind your eyelids. By remaining calm and passive, you can watch as these images coalesce and deepen, eventually forming a complete, immersive dreamscape. Because you have maintained consciousness throughout this transition, you enter the dream world fully lucid and aware that you are dreaming. The prison of paralysis becomes the launchpad for the ultimate freedom of lucidity. 6.3 A story for sleep. This story is best read in a calm state, perhaps as you are getting ready for bed, to help reframe any anxieties you may have about the night. Imagine lying in your bed wrapped in the soft, heavy comfort of your blankets. The moonlight outside casts a gentle, silver filigree across the floor. You are floating in that warm, quiet space between wakefulness and sleep, a place of peace. Tonight, as you drift, you become aware of a change. A stillness settles over you, a profound weight that is not unpleasant, just absolute. You realize you cannot move. You remember that this is a natural state, a river that sometimes flows between the lands of waking and dreaming. You are safe in its current. Your eyes are open just a little, and in the familiar shadows of your room near the doorway you sense a presence. It is a form made of deeper shadow, tall and still. The old instinctual part of your mind whispers danger, but you quiet it with a gentle breath. You know this watcher. It is not from the outside world. It is a visitor from within. It is the part of your mind that stands guard, the ancient watchman of your sleep. Tonight you do not fight it. You do not try to scream or struggle. You simply watch your watcher. You notice it has no face, no features, just a quiet, steady presence. It is not here to harm you. It is here because you are in a unique and powerful state, and it is a manifestation of that power. It is the guardian at the gate of your dreams. You take a slow breath in and you imagine sending a feeling of peace toward the figure. Thank you for watching over me, you think, without words. I am safe, you can be at ease. As you breathe out, you notice the shadow seems to soften at the edges. The feeling of pressure on your chest is not a weight, but the feeling of the deep, calm earth holding you. You are anchored and secure. The watcher at the door is not a threat. It is your own strength, your own stillness made visible. With another slow, deep breath, you can gently wiggle your finger and return to full wakefulness, or you can allow this peaceful, heavy feeling to carry you forward. You choose to go forward. You let the watcher fade, let the room dissolve into patterns of light, and you drift forward fully aware into the vibrant, endless world of your own creation. The gate is open. Part III, Lucid Dreaming, the Conscious Navigator. Chapter 7, A History of Waking in the Dream. The realization that one is dreaming while dreaming is not a modern discovery. It is an innate human capacity, a subtle flicker of awareness that has been documented, contemplated, and cultivated for centuries. While its scientific validation is recent, its roots are as ancient as our attempts to understand consciousness itself. 7.1 Ancient Roots, Aristotle, and Tibetan Dream Yoga. One of the earliest written acknowledgments of the phenomenon comes from the Greek philosopher Aristotle in his treatise on dreams circa 350 BCE, he astutely observed, "This simple line is profound. It is a clear articulation of the core of lucidity, the meta-awareness of the dream state." However, the most sophisticated early exploration of lucid dreaming comes not from the West, but from the East. In the 8th century, Tibetan Buddhism developed a complex set of practices known as milam, or dream yoga. For these practitioners, lucid dreaming was not a recreational pursuit, but a profound spiritual discipline. The goal was to awaken consciousness within the dream state to understand the illusory nature of reality itself. They believed that if one could recognize a dream as a mental fabrication, the practices involved intricate daytime meditations on the dreamlike quality of reality and powerful visualizations performed before sleep. 7.2 The pioneers Marquis de Hervé, de Saint Denis, and Frederick van Eden. For centuries, the topic lay dormant in Western thought until it was resurrected in the 19th century by the French sinologist Marquis de Hervé de Saint Denis. A prodigious dreamer from a young age, he kept a meticulous record of his dreams for over 2 decades. In 1867, this work was remarkable for its systematic, secular approach. He was not a spiritualist, but a careful introspective psychologist who developed techniques to increase his chances of lucidity and documented his experiments in dream control, such as attempting to conjure specific people or fly to specific locations. It was not until 1913, however, that the phenomenon received its modern name. The Dutch psychiatrist and author Frederick van Eden, in a paper titled The Study of Dreams, described a specific category of his own dream experiences that were distinct from ordinary dreams. In these, he had clear recollection of his waking life and a sharp awareness of his own condition. He coined the term lucid dream to describe this state, not because the dream was necessarily clearer visually, but because the dreamer possessed lucidity of mind. 7.3 The Scientific Revolution, Stephen Lauberg, and the Eye Signal Proof. Despite these early accounts, lucid dreaming remained on the fringes of scientific inquiry, largely dismissed as a subjective anomaly impossible to verify. That all changed in the late 1970s and early 1980s, thanks to the pioneering work of psychophysiologist Stephen Lauberg at Stanford University. Lauberg devised an ingenious method to objectively prove that a dreamer could be conscious and communicative from within the dream state. He hypothesized that since eye movements in REM sleep, he and his subjects agreed upon a specific signal. For example, the subjects would then be monitored in a sleep lab with a polysomnograph, which records brainwaves EEG, eye movements EOG, and muscle tension EMG. The results were a watershed moment in consciousness research. On multiple occasions, the sleep lab equipment recorded the unmistakable signature of REM sleep in active brain and paralyzed body, and then, In the middle of this period, the EOG channel recorded the prearranged volitional eye signal. It was the first objective, verifiable proof from within a dream, a message sent from one state of consciousness to another. Lucid dreaming had officially moved from the realm of anecdote into the world of verifiable science. Chapter 8: The Neurobiology of Lucidity. With lucid dreaming scientifically validated, researchers could begin to ask a deeper question: what is happening in the brain when a dreamer wakes up? Modern neuroimaging has revealed that a lucid dream is not just a different kind of dream. It is a unique hybrid state of consciousness, blending features of both REM sleep. 8.1 The return of the prefrontal cortex. In ordinary REM sleep, a key brain region called the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex (DLPFC) is significantly deactivated. This area is the seat of our higher-order executive functions, self-awareness, critical thinking, and working memory. Its deactivation is why we so readily accept the bizarre, illogical, and often discontinuous nature of our dreams. We don't question why we can breathe underwater or why our childhood pet is suddenly talking to us. During a lucid dream, neuroimaging studies show that this area, along with other frontal regions, roars back to life. This reactivation of the prefrontal cortex is believed to be the primary neural correlate of lucidity itself. It restores the capacity for self-reflection and critical thought, allowing the dreamer to recognize the bizarre context as a dream. We regain the me, who is experiencing the dream, separate from the dream itself. 8.2 The signature of consciousness, gamma band activity. Further research, notably by Ursula Voss and J. Allen Hobson using high-density EEG, has uncovered another fascinating neural signature. They found that the onset of lucidity is accompanied by a significant spike in gamma band brainwave activity, typically oscillating at around 40 Hz in the frontal regions. In the waking brain, gamma waves are associated with higher cognitive functions, the binding of different sensory inputs into a single coherent experience, and consciousness itself. Finding this signature during a dream is remarkable. It suggests that lucidity is a hot zone of conscious processing and integration happening within the broader context of the dreaming brain, providing a distinct electrical fingerprint for the lucid state. 8.3 The precuneus and parietal lobes, a shift in self. Other brain areas that show increased activity include the precuneus and inferior parietal lobules. These regions are heavily involved in our sense of agency, the feeling of being in control of our actions, and our first-person perspective. Their activation during lucidity makes sense. It corresponds to the subjective shift from being a passive character in a film to being the active director and protagonist of the experience. Chapter 9: Techniques for Inducing Lucidity. For many, lucid dreams happen spontaneously and rarely. However, for the dedicated practitioner, lucidity is a skill that can be cultivated. Decades of research and community practice have refined several effective techniques. Reality testing, or T, also known as reality checks. This is the foundational practice. The goal is to cultivate a habit of critical awareness during the day that will hopefully carry over into your dreams. Throughout your waking day, you pause and genuinely ask yourself, "Am I dreaming?" You then perform a test whose outcome would be different in a dream. Common tests include the finger palm push. Try to push the index finger of one hand through the palm of the other. In waking life, it will be solid. In a dream, your finger will often pass right through. The digital clock ticks check. Look away, then look back. In a dream, the numbers or letters will almost always be scrambled, different, or nonsensical upon the second look. The nose pinch, your nose closed, and try to breathe through it. In a dream, you will often be able to breathe freely despite the physical obstruction. Mnemonic induction of lucid dreams mild. Developed by Stephen Lauberg, this technique involves setting an intention. The best time to practice is after waking up from a dream in the middle of the night or in the morning. Step 1. As you wake from a dream, try to recall it in as much detail as possible. Step 2. As you are lying in bed and preparing to fall back asleep, Step 3. As you repeat this, visualize yourself back in the dream you just recalled, but this time visualize yourself recognizing that you are dreaming. Imagine performing your chosen reality test and having it succeed, confirming the dream state. The goal is to program a prospective memory, the ability to remember to do something in the future. Wake back to bed WBTB. This is a powerful technique that enhances the effectiveness of others, like mild. It involves setting an alarm to wake yourself up after about 5 to 6 hours of sleep. You then get out of bed and stay awake for a period of 20 to 60 minutes. You can read about lucid dreaming, meditate, or simply sit quietly. The key is to allow your mind to become alert while your body remains tired. When you go back to sleep, you enter REM sleep much more quickly, but with a heightened level of awareness, dramatically increasing the chances of becoming lucid. Wake-initiated lucid dream wild. This is a more advanced technique that involves maintaining conscious awareness as your body falls asleep, essentially entering a dream directly from the waking state. This often involves passing through the state of sleep. The dreamer lies perfectly still, allowing the body to drift into sleep while keeping the mind focused and aware, observing the hypnagogic imagery as it transforms into a full-blown dreamscape. Chapter 10. The Potential of the Lucid World. Why cultivate this skill? Beyond the sheer exhilaration of flying or exploring fantastical worlds, lucid dreaming holds significant therapeutic and creative potential. It provides a unique platform for personal growth, a virtual reality simulator powered by the human brain. 10.1 Therapeutic applications: overcoming nightmares and PTSD. The most well-documented therapeutic benefit of lucid dreaming is in the treatment of recurrent nightmares. A nightmare is a state of helplessness in the face of dreamt terror. Lucidity is the antidote to this helplessness. Upon realizing they are dreaming, the nightmare sufferer can change the narrative. They can give themselves superpowers, confront the threatening figure, and ask it why it's there, or simply teleport to a more pleasant location. This act of taking control can resolve the underlying anxiety the nightmare represents and significantly reduce its frequency and intensity. Early research also suggests it could be a powerful tool for veterans and others with PTSD, allowing them to safely re-engage with and gain control over traumatic memories in the secure environment of a dream. 10.2 The inner gymnasium, motor skill rehearsal, and creativity. Neuroscience has shown that imagining a physical action activates the same neural pathways as actually performing it. This principle extends to the dream state. A lucid dreamer can practice a golf swing, rehearse a piece of music on the piano, or even perform a complex surgical procedure. This neural rehearsal can translate to improved performance. Furthermore, the dream world is the ultimate sandbox for creativity. Freed from the laws of physics and the constraints of convention, a lucid dreamer can compose music, design impossible architecture, or solve complex problems by allowing their subconscious mind to present novel solutions. It is a direct line to a wellspring of creativity that is often inaccessible to the conscious, waking mind. 10.3 A story for sleep. Let this story be a gentle guide, an idea to hold in your mind as you drift toward your own dream worlds tonight. Imagine you are in a dream. It is a pleasant walk through a quiet, familiar forest. The leaves are 100 shades of impossible green, and the air is warm. As you walk, you happen to look down at your hands. They seem to shimmer slightly at the edges, a subtle, beautiful vibration. A thought clear as a bell arises in your mind. My hands only do this when I am dreaming. And just like that, you are lucid. The world around you snaps into brilliant, hyper-real focus. The greens of the leaves become deeper. The texture of the bark on the trees feels real beneath your fingertips. A wave of joy washes over you. You are awake inside your own mind. You decide not to do anything jarring. You just want to explore. You remember reading about flying, but you want to try something different. You look up at the vast blue canvas of the sky. You think to yourself. You decide to lift just a little. You don't push off the ground, you simply will the gravity beneath you to soften. And it does. You become light buoyant, and with a gentle thought you rise a few feet off the forest floor. You float there for a moment weightless among the leaves. Then you begin to paint. With a slow sweep of your intention, like a brushstroke, You command gravity to lessen in a long, graceful arc leading up toward the clouds. You follow this path of your own making, rising smoothly, effortlessly. The forest becomes a green carpet below. You paint another stroke, a gentle dive. You glide just above the surface, your reflection rippling below you. There is no wind rushing past you, no strain in your muscles. There is only the silent, joyful music of movement of a will made manifest. You are not flying, you are composing a symphony with physics. You are painting your path across the sky. You are free not because you have escaped the rules, but because in this world you are the one who writes them. You float there, suspended in the quiet masterpiece of your own mind, completely at peace. Part IV, the out-of-body experience, a shift in perspective. Chapter 11, the sensation of separation. The out-of-body experience, OBE, stands apart from lucid dreaming and sleep paralysis in one crucial aspect, its perceived reality. While a lucid dreamer is aware they are in a mental construct, it is a profound shift in the locus of the self, a dissociation so complete that one's own body is viewed as a separate, distant object. This experience, reported across cultures and throughout history, has often been interpreted as proof of a soul, spirit, or astral body that can exist independently of its physical housing. Neuroscience, however, offers a different, though no less wondrous explanation. 11.1 Defining the OBE Phenomenology and Common Features. An OBE is characterized by a consistent set of subjective or phenomenological features. Disembodiment. The core of the experience is the distinct sensation of being located outside of one's physical body. The sense of self, or the center of awareness, is perceived to have separated from its physical anchor. Parasemitic perspective. The experience is typically visual, with the individual seeing their environment. Most commonly, this is from an elevated position, looking down upon their own body, which is often seen lying in bed or sitting in a chair. Realistic environment, unlike the often bizarre and fluid nature of a dreamscape. Lucid awareness. The state is accompanied by clear consciousness. The person can think, reason, and observe their surroundings, often with a heightened sense of clarity and reality. OBEs can be triggered by a wide variety of circumstances. They can occur spontaneously, particularly in the transitional states between wake and sleep, similar to sleep paralysis, but they are also reported during moments of extreme physical stress or trauma. 11.2 Distinguishing OBEs from lucid dreams and autoscopy. To understand the OBE scientifically, it is crucial to distinguish it from related phenomena. OBE versus lucid dream LD. The primary distinction lies in the representation of the body and the world. In a lucid dream, you are typically embodied in a dream body within a dream world. You are aware that the world is a dream. In a classic OBE, you feel you are a disembodied The conviction that the experience is happening in physical reality is a hallmark of the OBE. While one can dream of having an OBE, the spontaneous classical experience feels entirely different to the person undergoing it. OBE versus autoscopy. Autoscopy means seeing oneself. In an autoscopic hallucination, a person sees a double of themselves in their external environment, but their sense of self, their I, remains firmly located within their physical body. The experience is I am here in my body, and I see a double of myself over there. The OBE is a step further. It is a form of heteroscopy where the sense of self has migrated. The experience is I am over there, looking back at my empty body. This shift in the perceived location of the self. Chapter 12, The Brain's Body Map. For centuries, the OB was a mystery belonging to spirituality and parapsychology. But in the 21st century, neuroscientists have located the specific brain mechanisms that can fail or be disrupted to produce this profound sensation of disembodiment. The answer lies not in a soul leaving the body, but in the brain's remarkable and sometimes fallible process of constructing our sense of self. 12.1 The temporoparietal junction TPJ, the seat of the self. Deep in the brain, at the meeting point of the temporal and parietal lobes, lies a crucial region known as the temporoparietal junction TPJ. The TPJ is a master integrator. Its job is to gather and synthesize a constant stream of information from multiple senses to create a coherent, unified experience of being a self located within a body. It processes proprioceptive data information from our muscles and joints telling us where our limbs are in space. Tactile data, the sense of touch from our skin. Visual data, what we see of our body and the world around it. Vestibular data, information from our inner ear that gives us our sense of balance and orientation in gravity. The TPJ seamlessly weaves these threads together to produce the default, unquestioned experience of I am here inside this body. An OBE neuroscience suggests is what happens when this integration process temporarily breaks down. 12.2 Olaf Blank's research inducing OBEs with cortical stimulation. The causal link between the TPJ and OBEs was powerfully demonstrated in 2002 by a team of neurologists led by Olaf Blank in Switzerland. They were treating a 43-year-old woman for epilepsy by applying small electrical currents to the surface of her brain to map the source of her seizures. When they stimulated a specific spot in her right TPJ, when they lowered the current, she described feeling as though her legs and then her torso were becoming light and flying up toward the ceiling. When they increased the current again, she reported the full disembodied visual experience. She was not dreaming or confused. She was a conscious patient describing the experience as it was happening. Blank and his team had. This provided powerful evidence that the OBE is a neurological event rooted in the functioning of a specific brain region. 12.3 A failure of multisensory integration when the self loses its anchor. The modern neurological model of the OBE is one of a failure in multisensory integration. When the TPJ is disrupted, whether by an epileptic seizure, a lack of oxygen, a traumatic shock, or the strange brain state between sleep and waking, it can fail to bind the brain's internal model of the self to the sensory data coming from the physical body. The brain, faced with this conflicting data, does what it always does: it constructs a best fit narrative to explain the sensations. It concludes that the self must be located where the visual perspective is often above, and generates a visual image of the body based on memory and the remaining sensory information. The experience feels utterly real because it is a genuine perception constructed by the brain's reality-generating systems. It is not a fantasy. It is a brain-based perceptual illusion, much like a phantom limb, where the internal map of the body no longer matches the physical reality. The self has temporarily lost its anchor. 12.4 A story for sleep, the quiet observatory. This story is an invitation to view the idea of perspective shift not as frightening, but as a source of peace and clarity. Let it be a gentle thought as you prepare for rest. Imagine you are settling into bed, the weight of the day gently lifting from your shoulders. The room is still and bathed in the soft, cool light of the moon filtering through the window. You focus on your breathing, each exhale a deeper release into comfort and calm. As you drift, you notice a peculiar lightness begin to fill you, starting in your feet and slowly rising. It is not an alarming feeling, but a pleasant, buoyant sensation, like a helium balloon tugging gently at its string. You don't resist. You simply observe the feeling with a quiet curiosity. The lightness spreads, and you feel your point of view, your sense of you begin to lift with it. Effortlessly, you float upward, not with a jolt, but with the grace of a single feather drifting on the air. You rise slowly through the still air of your bedroom until you are floating gently just below the ceiling. From this new perspective, you look down. There, resting peacefully in the bed, is your body. It is completely at ease, breathing in a slow, rhythmic cadence. You feel no fear, no disconnection. Instead, a profound sense of tenderness and compassion washes over you. From this quiet observatory, you can see the slight frown of concentration from the day melt away, the tension in the shoulders finally released. You see a person who is safe, who is at rest, and you feel a gentle, loving desire to watch over them. The room is silent, a perfect diorama in the moonlight. The sounds of the world outside are muffled and distant. Here in this high, quiet space, there is only peace. You are not a ghost, not a spirit separate from your form. You are simply consciousness, momentarily observing itself. You realize that this body is your cherished home, but your awareness is more vast and flexible than you ever imagined. After a few moments of silent, peaceful observation, you feel a gentle, magnetic pull drawing you back. You welcome it. You descend as slowly as you rose, sinking back into your physical form with a feeling of warmth and wholeness. You feel the comforting weight of the blankets again, the softness of the pillow. You are back home, but you bring with you the memory of that quiet, elevated peace and new perspective that you can carry with you into your dreams and into the day to come. Part V, Conclusion: The Unified Landscape of the Mind. Chapter 13, A Spectrum of Consciousness. We began this essay by framing these three experiences: one of terror. Yet, the deeper we delve into the scientific literature, the more the walls between them dissolve. They are not separate islands, but different peaks and valleys on a single continuous continent of consciousness, all shaped by the underlying tectonics of REM sleep biology. The central unifying principle is that of dissociated states of consciousness. Our normal waking, sleeping, and dreaming states are discrete and well-defined, with specific neurobiological signatures. But at the fragile transition points between them, these states can fragment and overlap, creating hybrid experiences. Sleep paralysis, lucid dreams, and OBEs are the result of this blending. They are not paranormal events, but predictable products of a brain caught between worlds. Let us map this spectrum. Sleep paralysis is the most foundational dissociation, waking awareness rematonia. The conscious self-aware mind comes online, but the body remains locked in the paralysis of the dreaming state. The brain's threat detection system, the amygdala, faced with this terrifying incongruity, populates the void with hallucinations. A lucid dream is a more integrated dissociation, waking awareness REM dream imagery. Here, the self-awareness of the prefrontal cortex reactivates within the fully formed dreamscape of REM sleep. Instead of the mind waking up, the paralysis of atonia is still present, but it is an irrelevant background feature, as the dreamer is embodied and active in their dream form. The out-of-body experience, especially those occurring near sleep, this is rooted in a disruption of the temporoparietal junction's ability to bind our sense of self to our body's physical location. It often occurs during the same hypnagogic and hypnopompic states, where sleep paralysis is common, suggesting they share a similar vulnerability at the edge of sleep. In fact, the vestibular motor hallucinations of SP floating flying can be seen as a precursor or a less stable form of an OBE. What this unified view teaches us is perhaps the most profound lesson of all our everyday. Waking reality is not a direct perception of the world, but a carefully constructed model, a controlled hallucination generated by our brain. These anomalous states are what happen when we get a peek behind the curtain. They reveal the brain's internal machinery and show us how flexible and fragile our sense of self and our model of reality truly are. The self is not a fixed entity but a process. The world is not a static picture, but a story the brain tells itself. These experiences, therefore, are not a malfunction of the brain, but a demonstration of its incredible creative power. Chapter 14, A Practical Guide to Mindful Sleeping. This entire exploration, from the neurobiology of atonia to the history of dream yoga, is not merely academic. It is a practical toolkit for transforming your own relationship. The overarching principle is to move from a place of fear or neglect to one of curiosity and fascination. Here are some key pillars for cultivating a more conscious and peaceful nightlife. Establish a foundation of excellent sleep hygiene. None of the more advanced practices can flourish without a healthy foundation. Prioritize a consistent sleep schedule, create a dark, cool, and quiet environment, and minimize exposure to blue light from screens in the hour before bed. This regulates your circadian rhythm and ensures your sleep architecture is stable. Keep a dream journal. This is arguably the single most important habit for anyone interested in their inner world. Keep a notebook and pen by your bed. The moment you wake up, before moving or thinking about your day, write down anything you can remember from your dreams. This simple act sends a powerful message to your brain: my dreams are important. Your dream recall will improve dramatically, and with it your chances of stumbling into lucidity. Cultivate waking mindfulness. The quality of your night is a reflection of the quality of your day. Practice mindfulness or meditation. The more you become aware of your thoughts, your surroundings, and your own state of consciousness during the day, the more likely that awareness is to persist into your dreams. The reality tests we discussed are a form of applied mindfulness. Set a gentle intention as you lie down to sleep. Don't just collapse into unconsciousness. Take a moment to set a gentle intention. It can be as simple as tonight, I will remember my dreams, or I will approach my sleep with curiosity and peace. This reframes sleep from a passive obligation to an active, intentional act. Reframe fear with knowledge. If you ever experience sleep paralysis, recall the science. Say to yourself, this is just a glitch in my REM sleep. By replacing the fear narrative with a scientific one, you can transform the experience, perhaps even using it as a gateway to a lucid dream. Chapter 15, Future Directions and a Final Word. The scientific study of these states of consciousness is still in its infancy. The future holds tantalizing possibilities. Researchers are exploring the use of non-invasive brain stimulation like transcranial alternating current stimulation, or TACs, to encourage gamma band activity and potentially increase the likelihood of lucidity. The development of sophisticated brain-computer interfaces, this may one day allow for real-time complex communication with a dreaming individual, opening up avenues for research we can currently only imagine. But beyond the laboratory, the true frontier is personal. It is the inner cosmos that awaits each of us every night. The exploration of sleep is the exploration of the self. It is a journey that requires no special equipment, only a quiet mind, a curious spirit, and a willingness to pay attention to the subtle productions of our own consciousness. These states show us that our minds are far more vast, creative, and mysterious than we give them credit for. They are a nightly reminder that reality is pliable and that our perception is a profoundly active generative process. To approach sleep with this sense of wonder is to unlock a third of our lives, transforming it from a period of dormant rest into a time of adventure, healing, and profound self-discovery. A final story for Sleep the Ship. Let these final words be a gentle current to carry you into the peace of your own slumber. Imagine your bed as a ship moored in the busy harbor of your day. The air is filled with the lingering sounds and concerns of waking life, lists to be made, conversations to be replayed, worries for the future. But now it is time to set sail. With each slow, deep breath, one by one, the lines of tension in your shoulders, your jaw, and your hands are cast off. You feel the ship of your body grow heavy, settling into the mattress, secure and ready for its voyage. With a final soft exhale, you slide away from the bright lights of the harbor, out into the calm, quiet waters of the evening. The noise of the day fades behind you, replaced by a profound and welcome silence. You are moving into the shallows of sleep now, a world of soft, fleeting images and gentle thoughts that drift by like distant islands in the twilight. Soon the current catches you and pulls you downward into the deep, silent, starless ocean of true rest. This is the abyss of healing, a place without thought or dream, where the ship of your body can repair its sails and mend its rigging. You sink into this restorative darkness, held safely by the immense, quiet pressure of the deep. After a time that cannot be measured, you feel a lightness returning. Your ship begins to rise, ascending from the dark depths back toward the moonlit surface. As you emerge, you find yourself in the vibrant waters of the dreaming mind. Here, the world is made of thought and light. The sky above is filled with impossible constellations, and the sea is teeming with the fantastic creatures of your own subconscious. Your ship sails through these glowing seas, a silent observer of the stories that play out on the waves. You watch the grand theater of your mind, knowing that you are the audience, the actors, and the sea itself. And perhaps in the middle of this grand performance, a small bright light of awareness will flicker on within you. You might realize that you are the captain of this ship. But whether you captain the ship or simply enjoy the journey, know that the voyage is always safe. As the night draws to a close, you will feel the gentle pull of the harbor calling you back. Your ship will drift slowly, surely back toward the familiar shores of the morning. And when you finally dock, Stepping back onto the land of wakefulness, you will do so feeling restored, renewed, and perhaps carrying a few strange, beautiful souvenirs from your long and wondrous journey across the inner sea. Sleep well.